We met over United We Stream during lockdown. You know, over 10 weeks we had 20.4 million people watch it to your streams, raised £612,000. They went to freelancers, went to homeless. At that point, I think you and I knew we had something special. And when I walked in, it blew me away, and some of the ideas you came up with were genius/mental. But absolutely, if there's anything I'm going to do that needs streaming or filming, it's a no-brainer. Obviously, Badgering Goons.
Let's go back a little bit and let's talk about the first time we met.
Well, it's more than a bit.
It is a bit, isn't it?
What year was that? No, I'll tell you. 1996.
1996?
Yeah.
Euros. It was around about that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Euro 96 and all that stuff. That's right. And you were a young-faced promoter.
Yeah. And I approached you. You were like the events manager, weren't you?
I was the...
That you missed.
You missed, yeah.
And I approached you with an idea of a night called Scandalous every Friday in Club Underground.
Just incredible night. I don't know why it didn't last.
I think it didn't last when I did the wet t-shirt competition. That's when it went wrong.
It was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It ran for fair time.
Yeah,
though.
it did.
It did go for a long time. It was brilliant. It was brilliant, and
We used to get 1,000 in.
it was packed. It was
We did
on.
phone parties, we did traffic light parties, did quite a few things.
You know, we had something. We did a thing at the Firkin. You were at the Firkin for a while as well. I remember rightly.
Mondays called Vodball.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh God, that just suddenly just popped in my head. Yeah.
Double vodka Red Bull, 99p.
Oh, man, incredible.
Can you imagine that?
Imagine that now.
No.
The night would last about an hour.
Yeah.
Everybody'd have to go home.
that's it.
Do you know what I mean? It'd be incredible. Wow, the things. I mean, this is kind of nice little segue into. There's a lot of things that we used to do. There was never. I remember rightly that we never had video capabilities on our mobile phones. But if I had an old StarTAC, you know, the flip phone StarTAC things back then, and you know, we've grown up through it. And sorry for lumping you into the same age bracket, but we've grown up through lots of technological change.
So many times I see videos, whether it's Warehouse Project or you know, other big scale events where kids have got their phones out, and I see comments on social media, well, we never did that at the Hacienda. You didn't do that because you didn't have phones, never mind camera phones. That's the reason why.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good point, is the behaviours of what we see as older people now, and we're thinking, oh, why? I mean, so it gets a bit much when you see somebody pull out an iPad at club night or something like that, but still, there is a lot of technology that is around now that has shaped behaviour and people's cultures and all that. It's influenced by technology. And I remember when I was younger in IT lessons, it was the BBC Micro, and I had a Spectrum 48K and all these sorts of things, and never in my wildest imaginations would I have thought that would lead to me being able to stream live content in my mobile phone. And I think the way that affects people today. But let's go back a little bit and take a look at when we met up again after a couple of years not speaking to each other, not for any reasons, but
I just didn't like you.
Just couldn't be asked, but but yeah, then we met up again night after, and it was great because it was like we'd never not spoken to each other and stuff like that as well, which was brilliant.
Yeah, but we met under pretty serious conditions, didn't we?
It was, yeah. Tell us about that.
I'd been tasked by Andy Burnham to try and entertain people during lockdown, which is pretty tough when you can, you know, this was the first lockdown when we were all scared. All of us were scared. I don't care who you are. You know, at that point, I was going to the supermarket, I was going to Sainsbury's, wearing marigolds and a mask, taking stuff back. Demi would disinfect everything. And then, I mean, it's mental when you think about it, isn't it? We just didn't know what was going on. And Andy said, right, we need to entertain people. I was like, hey, how am I going to do that? So I started Googling stuff and came across something called United We Stream in Berlin, where they'd taken a nightclub, a techno nightclub that was closed. They put a DJ in there and streamed the music out. Obviously, there was no one in the club, just the DJ. Streaming it out. It's free to watch, but if you could donate €1, €2, €3, then do. And I saw this thing, and I phoned Andy up and I tried to explain the idea, and he openly admits he didn't have a clue what I was talking about, but he just said, crack on with it. And that was the birth of United We Stream.
So, and this is fundamental what we see now today in the media industry, where there's a disconnect in some demographics and age ranges that don't watch the BBC News at 6. They don't watch it news at 10. They get their news through Twitter and other sources and Reddit and things like that.
Yep.
And that connection to what predominantly would be the audience that wants to go out and have parties and kind of feels restricted by that. They weren't getting that message to stay at home, were they?
Correct.
And this is where we came in.
Correct.
So and obviously, again, our growth with technology, but you've grown through lots of different generational ages. If you think about I mean it in a cultural sense.
All right, fine.
Like not that you're old and everything, but like when you first started putting on these club nights in Manchester to where the Warehouse Project is today.
Yeah.
I look at the Warehouse Project list sometimes and go, who the hell's that?
So do I. Yeah.
But it's incredible the connection to what a younger audience connects to and stuff like that. And like you say, I think it's how we connected to them to do that. And from those early days, kind of us doing it, and it was quite a.
Do you remember the nervousness of the combined authority? We were being watched like hawks. If two people were seen in the same screenshot, it was game over for us.
Yeah, I remember all the protocols that were laid down and things that we had to check, and the way that we'd even have. We'd keep the team small in order to keep that kind of information that we were told to do and stuff, and we actually created sections around the production that we were doing and stuff like that to do that. And I remember as well when we got those first. I want to say Salado was one of the first ones.
So Salado. So our home was the Bury Met.
Yeah.
That's where it went turbo. But actually the first couple of weekends, Salado did the opening night in Unity Radio Studio, I think, from memory.
That's right.
Then Gareth Brooks did it from his flat and pretended he was drinking coffee right the way through. It wasn't coffee.
I don't think
we all knew that.
I don't think it's coffee.
And then we got the keys to the Met in Bury. And that coincided with, there was one, I think it was the third week in, and Hancock had been coming out every night and the numbers were going turbo, COVID deaths. And something happened where I think it was a glorious weekend. Everyone had just had enough of the news. They turned the TVs off. By fluke, we had a Hacienda event on that really resonates in Manchester. And that happened and it went viral. And I remember sitting at home, I was watching it in my garden. You were doing all the graft. And I remember watching it, thinking, this is nuts. People were getting hold of my number. And I was like, how have they got hold, like Angela Rayner, this is amazing. Like, look, people were, Gary Lineker. I was like, what is going on here? And at that point, I think you and I knew we had something special.
And I wasn't born and bred in Manchester. I came up to Manchester in 80 something or other. I'm that old, but I fell in love with this place straight away because it was different from coming up from London. Everybody was friendly. Everybody had a conversation with you. Everything was different. And obviously, I had the freedom of not being on social media back then. I was able to be myself and find myself in what I was kind of about, really. And it's that Mancunianism, or whatever you want to call it up north. We are different in how we tackle these things, yeah?
Do you know what? We are. And I think United We Stream shows that, because I remember you in particular, there were so many people that didn't want Badger and Coombs to do the streaming. For whatever reasons, precious reasons, I think a bit of jealousy thrown in there. There were all these people that tried to stand in your way of giving you every single reason possible of not streaming United We Stream, and just did it. And that's, over 10 weeks we had 20.4 million people watch it through your streams, raised £612,000 They went to freelancers, went to homeless, Nordoff Robbins, and that is something that we as a team should all be very, very proud of.
Absolutely, and I think that was one of the beauties of what we were doing. I don't think we actually physically came together for a good 8 weeks into the project of doing it. I think it took us a while to actually physically be in the same room as each other after a while. Do you know what I mean? I remember a lot of our team's calls and stuff like that when we were planning and organising things. And again, it's that use of technology to be able to facilitate to do what we need to do on that. And I think, and again, it's having that digital creative mindset to go, actually, I can bring in the audience over Zoom, put them on the back screen at the Met, and bring them into the broadcast.
You know, everyone when they talk to me about United We Stream, they remember the Hacienda events or the Homer Block events and things like that.
Yeah.
The one event that stands out for me, which how you pulled it off, I've no idea, was we socially distanced the Survivors Choir from the arena attack. And it was the fifth anniversary, wasn't it, of the arena attack?
Fourth anniversary.
Fourth. No, it wasn't third. Arena attack was 17. Yes, it was the fourth anniversary. You got Media City, the courtyard right outside, social distance the whole choir. I managed to get Catherine Tilsley, Eva from Corrie, who's she's operatically trained. Not many people know that. And she was singing, and as she started singing and the choir joined in, you had a drone lift.
That's right.
And see the Manchester skyline in the background. And that I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it.
You know, I'm a bit of a sucker for minimising things that happen. And then I've done that now, move on to the next thing, actually. And sometimes you forget to reflect, don't you? Sometimes you forget to look back on the accomplishments. But actually, we worked hard with a very small team of people to pull that off. And I remember we'd had conversations with Media City and the BBC actually as well, to not over publicise what we were up to, because they didn't want a mass crowd of people coming down at that point. But I remember we had the tape measure out and we'd create this massive grid on the floor, and we'd tape down exactly where everybody needed to go and all that sort of stuff. And then to sound engineer that as well, we had Chris working on that. That takes a lot. But for some reason, when I try and remember what we did back then, it seemed really easy, and I wonder if that's because actually the hard part was being a survivor of what happened, and for us it was an easy thing to do, because I remember conversations with a couple of the choirs. They were saying we didn't know what we were going to do with COVID hitting, whether we could, because that's the whole point of the Survivors Choir, isn't it, so that they get together and help each other out. And I think they were struggling to figure out what they do and what they could do. And so for us, it was just a no-brainer to get on with it and do it, as opposed to having to worry about all these problems of getting it done. We found a way.
Looking back, I think we worked on adrenaline as well.
Oh, God, yeah.
There was no question of if. It's a question of it has to happen.
So I remember coming up with a stupid idea, and I can't remember who I mentioned it, and I was like, I think it might be you or Fletch, I don't know, but I said, oh, New Year's Eve, 24 hours, we can follow it around the world. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's just crazy. And I was definitely working on adrenaline that, because I think about 4 o'clock in the morning, I was definitely battered after doing the whole 24 hours.
We did it though, didn't we?
We did. We nailed it. I think remember Hooky did the final set or something like that, I think it was, or something crazy, and we were Vietnam. I think we had something from Vietnam at one stage, and that was the other thing as well. And this is what I'm really proud of.
We had something from Bali as well.
Yeah, Manchester became the centre of the world at that point.
Yeah,
and I think that's the technology does that. And I think that's the point, is that it's okay being creative, and we've got a massive amount of creativity in the north, especially Manchester is renowned for its musical creativity, and that's why Andy Burnham keeps winning his mayoral battles, because the music speaks for itself, nothing about its DJing style. But, you know, he's got a huge catalogue of music to choose from. Do
you want to tell the story about how he won the DJing battle during United We Stream?
I think it was, no, go on. I'm saying nothing.
So Andy, Greater Manchester, and Steve Rotherham, Liverpool City region, are best of mates.
Yep.
They're both lovely, lovely people, but they're very competitive as well. And they had a DJ battle, and obviously you couldn't have them next door to each other.
Are we letting the secret?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should.
Steve's never going to trust me ever again.
So, so the plan was to. Andy was very keen that Steve did his set first. So you drove over to Steve's garden,
That's
didn't
right.
you?
We were,
where he was set up.
Myself and Katie went into the back
Me and
garden.
Katie, Steve's back garden, filmed it. But we also got you to take a picture of Steve's set list.
We had his set list.
So Andy knew exactly what tracks Steve had played, so that when you cut them and edited them, Andy had the advantage. Let's just say that.
I was pressured into it, Steve. It was absolutely nothing to do with me. No, I think I actually walked off with his set list as well. I think I've got that stored around somewhere. But yeah, I've got that. It was a good set list. Don't get me wrong. It was
great.
Good. But again, that's the whole. Even that wasn't a barrier to getting it done. Do you know what I mean? And making that happen. And I think that was there was a very big impact of what was going on there. These two guys with huge exposure, saying, look, this is important. This is important messaging.
I remember. Do you remember the Sunday morning? It was early. It was like 8 o'clock. Sunday we had a Zoom, and it was supposed to happen that week.
Yeah.
And because again another spike, we postponed it for a couple of weeks, which was the right thing to do. But they were very, very keen of showing solidarity, weren't they?
Even the big broadcasters, the BBCs, the ITVs, they found it difficult to move around the space and do things and create content. They just, everybody stopped. All the broadcasters stopped. Even working with political figures, GMCA, they're always super keen to be careful about the steps that they take and stuff like that. Trusted in the process of what we were doing and stuff like that. And that for me at the time was quite special because, who were we, little Badgering Coombs and company-wise, we sprouted up from, and we were being trusted to deliver all of this. That's quite a... You
and the team, when I first spoke to you, there was never a no with me. It was like everything was possible. Everything was possible. And I don't know if you remember, to begin with, the internet connection wasn't that great at Bury Met, and you came up with a solution immediately the following week. And I think it was the Hacienda event, actually. There were so many people that logged on. We crashed it, didn't we?
We did. We crashed the server. Yeah.
But you were constantly fighting with YouTube, everything you managed to overcome. And without a shadow of a doubt, Badger and Coombs were the most important part of the formula of United Restream succeeding, i.e.
Well, yeah, but I mean, don't say yourself short, Sacha. I think you had a big role to play in it as well, mate.
But if Badger and Coombs weren't there, it wouldn't have happened. That simple.
Well, I appreciate that, but you trusted us and you kind of pushed us and stuff to get it done, and a lot of it comes from you as well, mate. And I think that's what I'm very proud of as a business as well. With Badger and Coombs, we're very collaborative, and we like to kind of install ourselves in the success of whatever's happening, and we do that with a lot of our clients. We tend to not try and do those one-off jobs. We try and do the long-term relationship type jobs and stuff like that. So we're definitely into doing that. We're sat here at Emirates Old Trafford at the cricket ground, and our client, Lancashire Cricket, is all about connecting the brand of cricket to audiences, not necessarily just in the bowl, but as far as India and the United States of America and all that sort of stuff, is that when you're trying to get people in through a door, how can you use technology to move the door to people? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's something that, like you say, has probably changed the way that nights and events get put on, I guess.
Well, you and I had many conversations toward the end of United Restream, where could this potentially work behind a paywall? And you and I stepped back at the end of United Restream, and it went on a different pathway. But I think the answer is yes. There are markets out there where I know people that get anxiety when they go into nightclubs. So they avoid nightclubs. So why can't there be a platform where you could potentially stream it to that audience? You went into Gary Usher's restaurant, Carla.
Massive moment again. Yeah, God, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And that was, again, when we spoke to Gary, he was like, yeah, my business is screwed here. The way that it affected people, we were able to bring that story in an authentic, tangible way. We purposely put our cameras at the back of his restaurant, and where his kitchen was at the front, and we put one
So it's
camera
empty.
so it was empty and you could
Yeah.
see it. And that was the whole point of the narrative of what we were trying to say in certain circumstances, was that, look, this is still happening in this horrible time. And I guess that's what we were about at Badgering Coombs, is we always try and get it done no matter what the barriers are to get it done, because ultimately the goal is to kind of share those moments with wider audiences and stuff like that. So yeah, so future, obviously, you're not doing warehouse project stuff anymore. So what's happening next? And where can Badgering Coombs help you? No, I'm only joking. What is the future looking like as a potential dad?
Well, not a potential dad.
You are a dad. Yeah, you are going to be. Sorry, no.
So yeah, sold warehouse project, sold part of life. So I'm going to take a few months step back. I've got my Sacha Foundation that helps kids in Greater Manchester get into hospitality. I'm concentrating on that. But I actually really enjoy the stuff I do, being a voice for the industry. Love all that. But absolutely, if there's anything I'm going to do that needs streaming or filming, it's a no-brainer. Obviously, Badgering Coombs.
Yeah, appreciate that. What about Manchester? Let's talk about, just finalise about Manchester. I appreciate Manchester in a massive way for what it's done for me. I mean, I'm 50 years of age now. I came up here however young I was, because I thought I was going to go to education, and I soon found out Manchester was better than going to university at the time. How do you think Manchester is going to respond to technology, its place in the cultural world and all that kind of stuff?
I think we're going to lap it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're not scared of change. I think we're head and shoulders above any other city region. I don't think Liverpool's far behind, actually.
No, not at all.
And I think, the two of them, Andy Burnham, Steve Rotherham, working together, it's a real power. And I think we're seeing now the Northwest shining more so than any other region across the UK.
I think you start looking at the investment that's going on around us and stuff, especially the properties as well, the building, all that kind of stuff, and the fact that London hasn't have any more space to build upon anyway. I think there's something in that actually, if people are looking at investing in infrastructure in the north as well, is one thing, but the talent is just unbelievable. We have so many young talent. I mean, that's the whole point of Badgering Coombs. I'm the old boy at Badgering Coombs. Everybody else is under 25 years of age at Badgering Coombs, and that. Really? Yeah, absolutely. Wow. It's incredible, and they are just so talented and so determined to succeed. And I don't know if a bit of that of me has rubbed off on that, but they will always try and find a way. They will stick their fingers up at whatever barriers are in their way to get something achieved and done. And I think that's a Manchester thing. I don't think that's a northern thing. I don't think that's, because in London they couldn't get United We Stream off the ground.
They tried, didn't they?
They tried to, and they couldn't do it. And I think
hilarious.
It's how we respond to those things. And it's frustrating for me as a business owner up north sometimes when you look down south and you think, why are we sending camera operators and replay operators up from London to come and do this when I've got them here and we've got them all around us, this young, talented, digitally savvy, digital natives here that know exactly what to do. So just one final sentiment then, just one final thing, because I know you need to get going and stuff. So that key thing that if you need to say to somebody why, or how would you big us up if you had to, and say what it is that impresses you so, not so about me, but about Badgering Coombs. What is the things that resonates the most?
For me, what I like about Badgering Coombs is I know I come up with some pretty wacky ideas, pretty out there ideas, but you never said no to any of them. You just made it happen, and it was seamless. I don't know how you did it, but it was absolutely seamless. And you were fighting against the authorities, really. There were not many people that wanted it to happen. But you did, you pulled it all together, you and the team, and the hours that you put in there, and you never not once complained about it. So, yeah, I mean, goes without saying, I'd highly recommend Badgering Coombs to anyone.
Thanks, Mum. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Definitely. Thanks for coming in today. Thanks for taking the time out as well. You've got lots of father duties to be getting on with, and you've come in to do this. So, yeah, I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good man. Good man.
Cheers, Chopper.
If you're trying to get people to donate into a cause that actually deep down, if we really think about, we really want to change something, let's make it fun. Whether or not that's a night out powered by the Warehouse Project or a day in Manchester Central. This is a charity working at the heart of a network of organisations really wanting to make a difference. DJ battle.
Craziness.
Yeah, but what a night. What a viral, massive night that kind of really took off. Angela Rayner going viral with Entrance. Who would have thought? That was truly incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And for us, the really great thing about that is you're doing it alongside us. DJ Battle in particular is kind of, we just like, can we do this? And you're like, yeah. Can we do this? Yeah. Can we do that? Absolutely. Because we know the impact of it. You're doing it because you want to be part of something good. And people coming back, people coming to us and saying, when's the next one of this? That was great, when you're doing that again.